How are heroes made? Legends written? How do racers make their name?
A short track where, it's $1 million for the winner, no point, no worries.
Who will be the next hero? Who will add their name alongside the legends of the sport? The answer lies within the walls of the last great Coliseum. By this time tomorrow, we will have crowned our first ever All-Star champion at the Bristol Motor Speedway. It's only the second time in the history of the race it has not been run at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And what a history it's been. 35 years ago, it was on a Saturday afternoon that the first All-Star race was run. At the time, it was called the Winston, and Darrell Waltrip took home the top prize, $200,000.
I love it.
But it was 2 years later that the Winston really burst onto the scene. That was thanks to its most popular driver and its most beloved villain.
Bill spun that 95 car out and caused a big mess, and then he come up there and tried to spin me out twice. I didn't take it.
In 1992, the race went under the lights for the first time.
That first time under the lights at Charlotte was incredible.
They called it One Hot Night, and a red-hot Davey Allison took home the top prize. He also took a trip to the hospital, suffering a broken collarbone on this crash coming to the checkered flag. In 2001, another memorable moment.
Watching the cars all go run into the rain at Charlotte into turn one and all crash, and watching everyone prepare their cars and to go out there and put their backup cars on the racetrack, and I think Jeff Gordon won that night.
One of 3 All-Star wins for Gordon, tied for second most all-time with Dale Earnhardt. Jimmy Johnson has the most wins in the event with 4. But sometimes the best All-Star memories have nothing to do with what happens on the track at all, and more to do with who you make those memories with.
When Carl Edwards won, that was a race that I went to with my mom, and I took her. That was her first race that she ever went to, so that was pretty cool.
The race at Bristol Motor Speedway will be historic in another way. It will be the largest gathering of fans at a sporting event since the pandemic broke out. The folks at Bristol Motor Speedway gave us a behind-the-scenes look at what fans will be doing to help keep each other safe.
We're going to have folks out there that are welcoming them, but also making sure that people, as they get to the gate, have a mask. If they don't have a mask, we're going to give them one. You're going to see on the ground recommendations for spacing so that we can keep people spaced out. We're going to have people out there just paying attention to that, making sure that we can encourage folks to stay spaced out. And then as you go through the ticket line, we're going to have people that are handing out hand sanitizer, again, mask if they need them. When you get to concourse level, the same thing. You walk up to a concession stand, we have those spaced out. You're going to see the fencing that's there in place to make sure we keep people distanced and keep them going in the same pattern so they don't cross paths.
Every other urinal is closed and every other sink is closed. We'll also have bathroom attendants who will have hospital-grade disinfectant on them. Just a simple spritz that continuously hitting urinals, sinks, door handles, anything that you might touch.
Follow the plan, follow the safety protocol. So make sure you're putting that mask on, make sure you're staying with your group and we're socially distanced from other folks. Wash your hands, make sure we're using that hand sanitizer, and then come have fun, come enjoy it. This is us getting back to some semblance of life as normal and enjoying those things that we love, but there are some prices to pay, and those are making sure we're doing the right things.
If you're not one of the 30,000 fans inside the track, you might be among the millions watching on TV.
I think it's going to be a show. I think we might have some helmets thrown.
Still to come, you'll meet the man behind the in-car cameras and learn about his ties to East Tennessee. Plus, who's the favorite to win tomorrow? We'll introduce you to a couple of the frontrunners. If you've ever watched a race on TV, then you know it's a massive production with hundreds of cameras. One of the most popular shots is the in-car camera. The man who runs that business is based in East Tennessee, and he considers the Bristol Motor Speedway his home track. Those unbelievable images you see from inside a race car each week get their drive right here in East Tennessee.
I grew up in Johnson City. I went to Science Hill, graduated in '96 at Science Hill, played baseball there.
As you can probably tell from the hat, Jeffers is a UT grad as well. And bringing you the sights and sounds in and around a race car is a family business.
So my dad, Lynn Jeffers, it was his company. When ESPN kind of took over and they just became a brand new network, well, they needed content. Well, they got racing, they got NASCAR involved, and they needed people who understood the sport. And there's a group called Broadcast Sports Technology at the time. Now they're called BSI. But those guys, Dad became good friends with. Well, they did all the onboards. So they were originators of the in-car camera, and they came from Australia. And I think it's notorious. The story is, in the 70s, the 79 Daytona, that was the first one. And Benny Parsons actually carried one. And then it came through in 82, I think it was when Kel Yarborough carried the camera. It was a huge, heavy camera.
Technology in the car has changed over the years.
Everybody who carries a camera has to carry 4 cameras in the car. So obviously you have a driver shot, you got the roof camera, and you got the rear bumper camera. And so with those 4 cameras, we have a 4th camera that is a trick shot.
And the way they wire each car has also changed in the era of COVID-19.
Right now, due to COVID and everything like that, we're staying out of the driver's domain. So no helmet cams, no visor cams, anything that's on their side that they would touch, we're not in there right now.
But the mission is the same, bringing you inside the car and giving you a front seat to all the action.
You get a ride with the driver. You get to kind of feel the speed. You get to, when the announcers are talking about vibrations, you get to see the driver holding the wheel and fighting the vibrations and, saving the car. And so it really does show that these guys are athletes inside the car.
If you're looking for a favorite in Wednesday night's race, you might want to start right at the top of the point standings. Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick are both past Bristol winners, and they come into the weekend red hot. If you were to take a snapshot of the action on the track this season, one thing would come into focus. Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick have been the class of the field.
Certainly we've sustained some great finishes, and even not great finishes, but great speed through an entire race.
The 11 and the 4 teams have 8 wins between them. That's half of the races this season. And they've combined to win 4 of the last 5 races.
Specifically the last 10 to 11, we've been exceptional. Really, since coming back from the break that we had, I thought we've been really, really good. And
the respect between these 2 teams is obvious.
Those guys are really good. I know Rodney and Gabehart are, they're good acquaintances, I guess you could say. And they're both of our crew chiefs are just really old school racers.
Because they know to be the best, you have to beat the best.
We're winning races and doing the things that we need to do right now and running up front. And, I think, obviously when you look at the win column, that's really, as long as you're winning races, that's what it takes to win championships.
If you're looking for an underdog driver, we've got just the guy for you. Still to come on Bristol's Night of Stars, we'll introduce you to the race's most unlikely all-star, plus which drivers are in the race and who will have to drive their way in. We'll break it all down for you next. If you're looking at the entry list for Wednesday's All-Star race, there might be one name on there that surprises you. Justin Haley isn't even running in the Cup Series this year, but he's still looking forward to the chance to keep surprising people. It was one of the most unlikely wins in NASCAR Cup Series history. Part-time driver Justin Haley's best Cup finish was 34th to that point, but he was out front when rain shortened last July's race in Daytona.
just one of those days that just seemed like everything went right. So to be able to get my first Cup win at Daytona was special, especially after finishing second in the Xfinity race the day before, 2 days before. Well, it was super cool. So I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those days, like I said, that everything feels like it goes right, and you come away with a win.
Haley didn't know if he would get a chance to run the All-Star race this year since he's more focused on his Xfinity car this season. But he said it was hard to pass up a chance to run in a race like this.
And you get told, hey, you're eligible to do the All-Star race, right? And it's one of those races you almost can't pass up just because of how big the purse is, right? Everyone wants to go out and win $1 million racing a race car. So it's one of those races that you really can't pass up.
Meanwhile, he and his Kaling Racing teammates continue to be the breakout team in the Xfinity Series.
We've been really fast and extremely fast, and just a testimony to all the guys at Kaling Racing. They've worked so hard over the break to find speed.
And who knows, maybe he can pull off another stunner in Bristol.
I'm excited for it. I'm excited to kind of do a race that almost has no consequences. I feel like, in the Xfinity Series, every race you put so much pressure on yourself because you're running for the championship, you need to have a good points day and things like that. It's just all out. It's all out for $1 million, and that's everyone's attitude.
So what drivers will join Haley in tomorrow's main event? Here's a look at the drivers that have qualified for the All-Star race. Any other driver that wants to race in the All-Star race has two ways to do it. NASCAR will run an open race before the All-Star race. The two-stage winners and the race winner will all transfer into the main event. The fan vote winner from the remaining drivers will earn the final spot in tomorrow night's race. So let's bring in our crew chief, Chris Carrier, who also happens to be the crew chief for the number 75 Food Country Truck in the Gander Outdoor Truck Series. Chris, you know this track maybe better than anyone else. Who does this track and this format favor?
I look at guys that are just going to reach down and grit it out, and there's also going to be some guys I think that may try to turn their season around with this, even though it's not a points race. It's a very competitive thing, and let's don't kid ourselves. Every driver out there, every team out there wants to win this thing. I think of somebody like Kyle Busch. He needs a jump start to his season. There's no doubt about it. They have kind of to their specs. They have underperformed, and they've been struggling to find, okay, where can we get jump-started here? Could be a place. Let's face it, he has a lot of success at the high banks of Bristol. I also think about a guy about Kevin Harvick. He's not intimidated about anything, but there's so many others. Joey Logano is a guy that can step up when things are in mayhem and somehow coming out smelling like a rose. Denny Hamlin's been on a hot streak. Man, there's a lot. I don't know if somebody would give me, $50 to bet on the thing. I'm not really sure who I would bet on. I would probably put it on the 18 if you held a gun to my head.
I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin. He's so good on the short tracks, and he's good at Bristol. This team just seems to have it all clicking right now. Thanks to Chris and to everyone else that helped make this special content possible. Remember, the green flag drops on the All-Star Open to start the night tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Enjoy it as Bristol makes history.